Hello, everyone. It's Rebecca E. Parsons here today to show you how to make this beautiful French door tag. And it is made with all the things from the Ornithologist's Collection bundle at the Graphics Fairies premium membership site. So let me just show you what this is all about. It has a beautiful little feather tucked in, and it has some hang tags that all came from this wonderful collection. And let me show you the mechanism itself and how it works. There is the front, there is the back. Isn't that beautiful? And it opens like this to reveal some wonderful things from the collection. These are feathers, or plumes, as they are called. And that is another beautiful image from this set. So I am going to show you how to do this, how to disguise the mechanism and hide the mechanism so nobody will see that. Let's just get started. All right, so what I did first was I took some stuff into my Photoshop or Photoshop Elements, whatever you might have, any kind of photo editing program. And I just made a couple of pages of things, took some of the images, and I made them into tag shapes. But you could go ahead and just cut these images. These were side by side, so you could print those and cut them out and just cut the tag with a template if you want. But there's some wonderful things in this collection, so go look at that. Make sure you see it. Let me put this aside. And the first thing that you need to do, that's the most important thing in this tag, is to cut everything properly. And I used a guillotine cutter for mine because I wanted everything to stay square. And that's the best way I know how to do that. So I took the pieces. I took these two pieces and I made a mirror image of this bird cage. I loved this bird cage and I thought it looked so much like a tag to begin with, the shape and everything. So I loved everything about it. So I made a mirror image of it. And so you just cut it out. Let me show you. Well, let me use my cutter. And I want to cut this as long as I can. And I'm going to do this the same way. Just to get that right there on the edge. Put those aside. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim these really quickly. I've already done this, but I want to show you since this is the most important part. I'm going to take these and trim them right in the middle. Then I am going to put these together, and I can see through the shape of the tag underneath here. I'm going to make sure those are backed up. Make sure they're back to back when you cut them, so that they will be easily done. You can use a light box to put these together, but I have a nice window here so I can see through those images. Line them up. and I cut them all 4 together. So there they are. Make sure that you cut them back to back like that instead of like this. So if there's any unevenness in the cut, you have them perfectly done. Now, for the front, which is very important, you want to cut this in half, exactly in half. The best thing to do would be to measure it, and mine is a little more than 3 inches. So it's about 3 1/8. So I'm going to cut it about just a tad over. Hold my breath and hope that I have done that correctly. And that's pretty close. All the materials and tools that I've used will be listed underneath the video, but you can see what I'm using as I go. One of the most important pieces that we have is this. This is going to be the structure that holds the front to the back, or the hinge. And mine is twice the width of the tag. So measure your tag, whatever size you made the tag, and double that. Mine is going to be 6 1/2 this direction and 4 1/4 this direction. That gives us enough. Find the center and fold it, and then fold both sides into the center. And then I'm going to fit it around my card. And that fits pretty nicely. You don't want it quite to meet. You want it to be just a little gap right in there, as you can see. We're going to start gluing. And for this, I like to use a repositionable glue, one that you can move. This one is repositionable for a few minutes. You have a few minutes playtime, and that's why I like to use it on this type of project. I can adjust things as I go. And I just want to glue in this middle section. So let me turn those edges this way. I want to make sure it goes clear to all the edges. Place this as close to the center as I can get it. And again, it's repositionable, so I can fiddle with it just a hair. I'm going to turn it and burnish it in on both sides. And that's pretty darn good. So I'll leave about 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom for what we're doing. This is probably the trickiest part here, provided that you cut your bird cages perfectly. So we're going to put them right here. Make sure, because you could get this off, you don't want to put them on this direction, because that would put the edges. You want to make sure you've got the center part facing inward. I am going to put my glue down here on this hinge flap. Whoops. And I should have put a guard in there. I knew better. And that goes on the outside. This goes on the inside. And make sure, the most important part is that it is lined up precisely top and bottom, that these edges meet. That's the most fussy part of this. Okay, and then I'm just going to glue this flap. Again, making sure that I don't get anything over the center right now, but make sure that all the edges have been covered with glue. That's really important for this. And then match it. Make sure that the tops match perfectly, and make sure that you don't see any white area right there. None, none, none. Because that will throw the whole thing wonky. These two edges, and that there's no white showing, that those have met perfectly. So we're going to do the same thing on this edge. And if I did everything correctly, that's going to meet and look like it was never cut in two. There you go. There it opens. You can see that hinge a little bit. And I use, for the hinge paper, I want the paper to have some fiber in it. So I use a cotton paper for the hinge, so it'll last no matter how many times whoever I give this to opens and closes it, it's going to last. You've got the hardest part done now. Yay! Good for you. And the door's closed, so just make sure you take your time with that and make sure everything meets and works and that it meets perfectly. So the next thing we're going to do is turn the card over, glue some more. We are going to glue the back to this, and we're also going to glue our ribbon. And you could use some stronger glue here if you want, but I found it doesn't really make a difference. We can still use this repositionable here just as well, because we are going to put a card over here. Make sure the edges have the glue. The edges are the most important parts. And putting this together like a puzzle, making sure that your top and bottom meet exactly. And at this point in time, I like to set like a book over top of it and let it rest so that I know that it is well glued and the glue is dry. So since it's repositionable, it can take a little while to dry. So I kind of do that. Go have a cup of tea now. But we're going to carry on since we're in the middle here. And the next, we are going to just trim these top edges just with scissors. Right inside there. So it has our tag shape. And we are going to go ahead and hole punch the back part. We're not going to hole punch the front part. It's going to be like that. The back part is going to have our hole. And we are going to take one of our strings and go ahead and tie that on right now. we are going to punch holes in our tags that we're going to use. We're going to use a specimen tag. We're going to use a number tag. And I just cut these by hand. You can cut them on your Cricut if you want to. Or you can, I used a circle punch for the circle one. And what I do here is just line all three of them up together and use a tiny hole punch to punch a hole. Let me move that just a hair. I think it's going that direction. Get all three of them lined and punch your little hole and put your string through that. This just slides right on our ribbon. And we are just going to tie that. A square knot on that, but don't pull it really tight. Leave it a little bit open. And there are our tags hanging down. And I'm going to take this cute little specimen tag that comes with the set. I'm going to glue it to my feather, my beautiful feather. And just slip it right in there. That's a beautiful blue feather. I think that works. And there you go. That is how to make a French door tag. And wasn't that fun? I think this is so beautiful, and it's so much easier than I imagined when I first started thinking about it in my head and thinking about how I was going to make this tag happen. I was drawing little sketches and diagrams to see it and working them together. So get in there and look at the bundles, the themed bundles we have on the Graphics Fairy, and pick out a favorite one and make yourself a French door tag. This is Rebecca. I'll be signing off. May joy be with you all.